Wel, shwmae pawb, and croeso I goginio gyda fi. Hello everyone and welcome to Cook With Me. My name is Richard and today we're going to be making some delicious Welsh Rarebit muffins, which I promise you are absolutely blasus iawn. I hope that you've got everything ready to cook along with me, but if you haven't, here's what you're going to need. Okay, so now that you've got everything ready, let's get cooking. The first part of this recipe is to do your weighing and measuring. And whenever I'm making muffins or cakes or anything like that, I like to split my ingredients into the dry ingredients, the optional ingredients, and then the wet ingredients, and then we'll mix everything together right at the end. So let me tell you what you're going to need for your dry ingredients to start with. I've done all my weighing today on the set of digital weighing scales. You can use whatever scales you have got. So let me show you what I have got in my little bowl just here. You will need to weigh 100 grams of plain flour and 50 grams of wholemeal plain flour. And the reason I'm going to add a little bit of wholemeal flour is because wholemeal flour contains a little bit more fibre, which helps to keep us fuller for longer, but also helps to keep the food moving around in our bodies. If you haven't got wholemeal flour at home, then don't panic, just replace it with plain flour. So in total, you'll need 150 grams of flour. I've also added two other ingredients. Right at the top, just here, I've added half a teaspoon of mustard powder, and that's going to give our muffins that Welsh Rarebit sort of flavour. And because I'm not adding any extra salt, I've also added half a teaspoon of mixed herbs, which is going to give it that herby sort of flavour and make sure that we don't have to add any more salt. To that, because I'm using plain flour, I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder as well. And when we are thinking about baking powder, what you don't want to add is a heaped spoonful just like that. I'm hoping that you're able to see that on the screen. We need a level teaspoon just to help our muffins rise a little bit. So what I like to do is I get my heaped spoonful just like that, and then I just scrape it along the side of the container, and that's the sort of level that you're looking for. There we are, you can see it just there. So not a heaped one, just a level teaspoon, and I'm going to pop all that in and then give that a little mix just as so. So that's my dry ingredients, and we're going to worry about that afterwards. I've then got my optional ingredients, right? And you can add literally whatever you want to these muffins, right? But I always like to try and add some fruits or vegetables, because then that means that we're helping towards our 5 a day. So just on my little plate just here, you can see that I've got 25 grams of mature cheddar cheese just there, and we've cut that into little pieces just as so. So when we bite into our muffins afterwards, you're going to have that lovely cheesy flavour, which means that we don't have to add as much sort of salt either. That's the compulsory one. Then you've got your other optional ingredients, and on the recipe card there's lots of different things that you could add. I've chosen today to add a couple of teaspoons of sweet corn, some corn mellis. I've got a tipyn bach of pipir coch, some red pepper. That's not spicy, that's just the sweet one. I've got one spring onion, which I've chopped up and sliced into nice fine pieces, and then I'm also going to add half a slice of keeg in the form of some ham just there. So all of those will get tipped in afterwards, so you will need to prepare those as well. Then the final thing that you've got for this first stage is to prepare your wet ingredients. And we've got an egg, or an oil yng Gymraeg. I got some olive and I got some llaeth. And I'm going to show you how we're going to measure these. I'm going to finish by preparing the egg, and then I can wash my hands afterwards. But for our oil, our olive, I've just got some bog standard vegetable oil just there, and you will need, just checking my recipe card just to the side of me, you will need 30 millilitres of olive, right? You can either weigh it via your weighing scales, or we're going to measure it with a dessert spoon just like this. And one full dessert spoon is equal to 10 mils. So using my maths, I will need approximately 3 level spoonfuls of oil, and make sure they are level, right? Because we don't want to add too little liquid. So that's in just there, and I'm going to put it all into the same pot. 2, 3, just like that. And then we're going to need 100 mils, okay, 100 millilitres of our llaeth, our milk, right? So again, you can either measure it in a measuring jug, or I'm going to add it just like this. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to add 1 for luck as well, because some of them might not have been totally full. So we've got our 2 wet ingredients just in there. I'm just going to pop that to the side, and this just over here so it doesn't spill everywhere. And the last thing is we have got our egg. Now then, there's lots and lots of ways of cracking an egg, and I've seen, going around to schools and communities, lots and lots of different ways. People often crack it on the side there, they crack it on the table. I've even seen people showing off and doing it on their head, right? Please don't do that at home, right? Because it'll end up in lots of mess. But the way that I like to do it is I hold it in my hand just like that, as if it's a little cradle, as if it's a little treasure chest, right? Then I'm going to use a table knife or the handle of my fork. I'm going to do 1 swoop, and then I can open my little treasure chest. And I always do it, I'm not going to do it into this bowl straight away. I always do it into a separate bowl. That means that if there's any shell in there, I'm not going to ruin the rest of those ingredients. So watch. I'm going to do 1 big swoop. 1, 2, 3. I've got a crack going all the way down. I can then get my thumbs in, my beast bouts in, and then I can pull it open, and hopefully I haven't got any shell in there, which I haven't. I can pop that into my little compost bowl, and then that can be poured into there. And the final job is you're just going to give that a little whisk, just as so. Once you have prepared your egg, please go and wash your hands, as I'm going to do in a couple of moments, because we don't want to spread raw egg onto everything. So this is stage number 1. In a couple of moments, there's some reminders of what you need to weigh and measure coming on the screen, and I'll see you in stage number 2. Okay, so now that you've done that, we can start to make our delicious muffins. And our first job is we're just going to mix up our dry ingredients with a llwy bread, a wooden spoon, just so that all of those herbs and all that mustard and baking powder is mixed up. Then I can add all of my optional ingredients. So I've got my cubed up cheese just there. I've got my half a slice of ham, and I've cut out that ham into little pieces, or you could just tear it in. I've got my shibon or spring onion just there. I've got my pipur coch, and I'm going to finish off with my corn mellis or sweet corn just there. And obviously when we're thinking about eating fruits and vegetables, the message is that we should have 5 a day, but more importantly we should have that rainbow of colours as well. So we've got all those lovely colours, which is going to give us lots and lots of different nutrients. And I'm just going to give that a little mix, and mix in Welsh is cymysgu. So we cymysgu, being ofalus iawn, super careful not to get it over the table. And all I'm going to do is just make a little well right in the centre, just as so, and I'll pop that onto my little plate just like that. Then I've got my wet ingredients, and I'm just going to give that a gentle whisk. Probably best practice is to do it on the table, so do as I say, not as I just did. So we're just going to do that just there, and then I can pour all of that right slap bang into the centre, just as so. I'm hoping that you're able to see that moving around just in there. And then we're going to give it another cymysgu, right? And the thing is with making muffins is we just want to mix it just until everything is combined, because a muffin has a slightly different texture to a cake, whereas a muffin's quite slightly heavier, so we don't need to add as much air, and it becomes too tough if we do that anyway. So I'm just mixing it just until it's literally all combined, and I can move that down and there's no flour coming off the base of my bowl. And then I can just use my little scraper, and I'm just going to scrape all that off just like that, and I can pop that just over there, and we're going to use that afterwards. Now then, we have to now work quite quickly, right? Because that baking powder has now started to react with the liquid. So we've got our muffin moulds just here, okay? And there's lots of different, just moving that out of the screen, and there's lots and lots of different muffin moulds available. I particularly like the little flexible ones like this, right? Because they're completely non-stick, which means that I don't really need to add any paper cases to them. They just go in and they flip back out, and I'll show you how easy they are to use afterwards. And I think I paid about £4 for that online, right? If you haven't got those, then we've got our muffin trays just there, and I suggest that you would use your little muffin cases. The other option is to get one of the 24-holer ones or the 12-hole, because this recipe will either make 6 large ones or 12 little small ones. As I said, I'm going to make these ones just here today, and the way we're going to do it, I'm going to move it around just like that because I'm right-handed. So what I want to do is I'm going to put a little bit on my spoon and then scrape it off. Try not to be tempted to use your finger, because then you're going to lick your finger, and obviously there's raw egg in this. So a little bit on your spoon and scrape it off. And we want them approximately 3/4 full. A little bit on your spoon and scrape it off. A little bit on your spoon, you can always add more afterwards, but we're sharing it out to start with. A little bit on your spoon and scrape it off. A little bit on your spoon. Try not to drop it onto your baking tray. We always make mistakes, but it's fine. We don't have to panic, right? And then a little bit on your spoon and scrape it off. I'm sharing the rest out now. A little bit on my spoon and scrape it off. And then final bit just there, a little bit on my spoon and scrape it off, making sure that they're all nice and even in size. I'm going to pop that into my little washing up bowl to wash up afterwards. And the last thing that we've then got, and this isn't compulsory, but I think it gives it a lovely sort of colour, is a little bit of extra grated mature cheddar cheese. And cheese is super good for us. It's jam-packed full of calcium, okay? So it's good for our teeth and good for our bones, good for our dannedd and our esgyn. It's also got protein in there, which means it's good for our caharau, and it also helps us to grow as well. And 25 grams, that is our recommended daily amount of cheese. And although I've added 2 quantities into here, we're only going to be having 1 muffin at a time, right? There's lots of different graters available. I'm going to be using this little rotary grater just here. Show you how to use that in a couple of moments, but there's also lots of others that we have got. Now then, if you are a younger person and this is the only box grater that you've got at home, please make sure an adult is helping you, because what I see lots of people do is they get this grater and they just grate. You're more likely to get an accident using this than if you're using a knife, right? So for this type of grater, all you're going to do, always on a flat surface, you hold the top, or an adult holds the top, and then you grate down, move away, grate down, move away, grate down, move away, and every time you're moving away, you're moving your hands up whatever you are cutting, right? So you've got your cheese just there. With this oval type of grater, and I know some of us will have these at home as well, the teeth of the grater run away from us, right? And then we hold the base, we grate down, move away, grate down, move away, grate down, move away, grate down, move away, and you've got your cheese coming out just like that. As I said, I'm just going to use this little grater just here, and you can actually grate either straight onto here or into a little bowl, right? So all I'm going to do with this is I turn and turn and turn and tap, turn and turn and turn and tap, turn and turn and turn and tap, try a throw, a tap, and you've got all of your cheese just in the little bowl like that. And then the final thing is I'm just going to add a little bit of cheese on top, and what will happen with that cheese is it will melt, it'll go lovely and golden brown, and it'll look just like one of those little Welsh rarebits with the golden brown cheese on top. It'll melt, and I promise you these are absolutely blasys iawn. Super, super, super delicious. So that is my cheese just there. Now these are ready to bake in the oven, and I'm going to cook them at 180 degrees centigrade for 20 to 25 minutes. That's gas mark 4 for 20 to 25 minutes until they're well risen, they've gone golden brown, and they are absolutely blasys iawn. So this is stage number 2. It's now over to you to prepare your muffins, get them in the oven, and I will see you in stage number 3. Well, hello and welcome back. I hope your muffins are now baking off in the oven. Mine have just come out and this kitchen area smells absolutely blasys iawn. If I just hold up my little muffins, you can see that they're now nice and golden brown. They're well risen, the cheese has melted, and they really do smell absolutely and ugly nice. Now then, when you're making them in these little flexible moulds, you'll need to leave them in the moulds just for about 5 minutes, just to cool down, and they'll naturally shrink away from the sides, right? Then all that I'm going to do, and my muffin tray is now nice and cold, is I'm just going to go around very quickly with the side of a knife, just like that. And what that will allow me to do, are you ready? After 3, we're going to get these out and then pop them straight onto our little cooling wire. And I'm hoping that now that I've allowed them to cool down, I should be able to flip this over and they'll all come out in one. Are you ready? 3, 2, and 1. So I flip them over and I'm hoping, yes, they've all come out just like that. And then very carefully, please be careful with this bit because they are still super hot, so you might need to ask an adult to help you. You can pop those straight on to your little cooling wire, and I would suggest that you leave these for approximately, I'm just going to pop those just over there, for approximately 15 minutes just to cool down before you eat them. And you would probably have one as a nice little healthy snack or on a picnic. The rest can then be stored in an airtight container for up to 2 days, or you can actually freeze them down. If I just show those to you just there, you can see that those are absolutely blasys iawn. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed cooking with me today. I certainly have enjoyed showing you how to make these delicious Welsh Rarebit muffins. Don't forget that there's lots of recipes available on our Facebook page and website. The link is coming up now, cookingtogether.co.uk, and there's lots of other traditional Welsh recipes available on the museum website. I look forward to cooking with you again soon, but in the meantime, cook in your happies.